Okay. I like how Leo's cup drop was like a mic drop then just before we started. I like it. How is everybody this morning? Oh, it's good to have you back. We've missed you on Weekly Drip. Explain to everyone where you've been, part-timer.
I was on holiday, I took some time out. I was in Dominican Republic, just laying on the beach doing nothing, smoking cigars. It was good, but it's good to be back. I tuned in on last week's for a bit. It's good. I missed it. I missed it.
It's all right for some, isn't it? Abs being able to be in the Dominican Republic, while
Oh,
we're still
yeah.
here in England, grafting away. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? But
yeah.
all looks ready to go today. He looks ready to go. I know he's going to bring the heat. How are you today, Abs? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm ready. Ready to talk about everything that happened over the weekend.
I'm ready,
Excited.
Leo. Not a great weekend, Leo, but we will
No.
touch on that. How are you feeling after this weekend? A little bit mixed emotions.
I mean, I'm usually someone that's always positive, and I have to say I haven't been able to fully digest the result. Like it still hurts, especially seeing City and how dominant they were, yesterday. And I have to say I've struggled. And I know it's
Yeah.
first match day, but it feels like a blow already.
I've struggled with this one this week, but we'll get into that in this show because this is Weekly Drip. We'll run through everything that's happened this weekend, last week. We'll bring you our memory box, our moment of the week, lost property, something that's not quite hitting, and our trophy cabinet, the baller of the week for this week. But we start the show the way we always start the show with Ash's What If. Now, I'm getting a bit more serious with these, to be honest. I used to go very light-hearted, but we're going to go a little bit more serious. So today's what if moment is captains, especially captains in football. So, I want to talk about captaincy. Do you think, when you look at other sports, I had cricket up there, there's a lot of importance placed on a captain. Do you feel like many teams kind of really care who the captain is? Do captains have that much importance within football?
Of course. Yeah, I do. I think captains are they're supposed to be like, the leader, embody the values and stuff like that on the pitch. Um, I think it's crazy because I remember when Klopp said like when he benched Hendo and then everyone was this big uproar and he was like, I don't understand because in Germany or whatever we will bench our captains. It's not that deep kind of thing. And I kind of like that because just because you're the captain don't mean you can't get benched, and if you're not playing good or whatever.
Yeah.
So I like that, but I do think there's a big like uproar of captains if you bench a captain or a captain ain't playing a game, and especially I don't know. I don't speak about this country. It's very much like, oh my god, how's he not playing? There must be something wrong. He must have fell out or something. And sometimes just tactics.
I like what you're saying there, Rob, but Abs, do you think that choosing captains now, when managers are picking captains, we look at Manchester United with Harry Maguire, we look at Southgate with Harry Kane. Do you think they choose the stature of the player rather than the man that is the best for the job? Because we look at Liverpool, there's so many players who are bigger stature than Henderson, but nobody could do that job as good as Henderson. Do you feel like that's what some managers miss out on when they're choosing the captains?
Maybe some. I feel like it depends what club you look at the minute, to be honest with you. Like, you look at Man United and it's literally a joke what's going on with Harry Maguire. Like, I don't understand how he can be Ronaldo's captain. Like, even thinking about it, it's just, like, ridiculous. But when you look at our team, everyone has the potential to be a captain. Like, we have so many players who are, like, captain of the country and stuff like that. Like, I feel like I mean, I'd stick with Henderson for forever. Do you know what I mean? But I think it depends what club you look at. Like this morning, I was looking on Twitter and like Connor Cody's like leaving Wolves, isn't he? Still like Wolves
Yeah,
captain right now, and
yeah.
he wants to go to Everton. Like I don't know. I think it just depends like what club you look at about it, and like I don't know. It just depends. I don't know. Like we don't always start Henderson, do we? Do you know what I mean? But
No,
it's
that's
what he
it.
does behind the scenes as well. Same with Milner.
Do you think, Leo, that choosing a captain should be down to the manager, or do you think that the players should kind of pick someone
Yeah,
that they feel represents them in the dressing room?
yeah. I mean, I feel like it has to be the manager. And sorry about that. Sorry. But it feels like it depends on the manager, but you look at a place like United, and it's so difficult because you have the stature and the ego of a player like Cristiano Ronaldo, which we see. And imagine for someone like Maguire to tell him anything, to give him any type of instructions. And it does feel like on Twitter you see this a lot, and that's something I wonder what you guys think about as well, which is like Hendo, sometimes it's not good enough. He's not good enough on the pitch, and this past weekend maybe it's tough to say. It was an all-around performance that wasn't good enough, but sometimes you also wonder how much can Hendo really tell the others when technically he's not anywhere near a lot of a lot of the others talents. But again, I think it's more about the team at Liverpool, and that's why Hendo is such a successful captain. It's not about individuals,
Yeah,
and
I agree with that. I think what we've come to is the fact that different teams have different needs. Liverpool needs somebody who's going to keep the intensity going on the pitch. We rely on that intense style of football. Whereas when Stevie G was captain, we needed someone who would step up and go, that's the level of performance you need. Whereas I think that's what Harry Kane does. But I find it crazy that Harry Kane is not even Tottenham's captain, but he's England's captain. And Henderson's not England's captain. Like, I find it all crazy. But
well, look
it's
at
never
Mings.
going to change. What's that? Oh,
Gerrard gave him a season and then stripped him. You don't really see that every day, do you? You kind of see a very much loyalty with, and people usually come in and keep their captains from the past manager as well. So that was different. I don't see that much.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Well, that was the what if moment. I told you I was keeping it nice and serious, nice and sensible today. I might be a little bit more silly next week. I don't know why I said silly. It's a weird word, but we'll be a little bit more silly next week. But we want to move on to the memory box moment. So this is the moment of the week or weekend. The only one we could choose together was the demise of Manchester United, losing 2-1 to Brighton. Now, that is the only thing that has kept my weekend alive. I'm not going to lie. Abs, with Liverpool's performance, I was hoping that City as well, I was hoping, but Man United was the one. Please lose at home to Brighton when everybody's talking about Ten Hag's going to change this. That kind of perked me up a little bit. Did it perk you up?
No, definitely. Like I went to go and pick up Nando's basically, so I missed Brighton's 2 goals. And like Mark rang me and he was like, "Guess what?" I was like, "What?" He was like, "Oh, Man United are losing 2-0. I like got in the car. I was like, "I need to watch this." But when they got one back, I was thinking, "Oh God," because I'd already tweeted like, "Let's all laugh at Man United," and then I thought, "Oh, this is gonna happen that again," because I always do that. I am like the person who'll tweet like "yay" or whatever, and then we'll end up losing or something. So I'm made up. Like I love it, and I just love Ronaldo's miserable face on the bench as well, because he knows he wants to leave, and there's just no one will take him. I just loved his reaction. I love it.
It is crazy, because you've got Ronaldo on the bench. They started Eriksen as centre forward, as a false 9, who I felt had a good game. I feel like Eriksen was kind of the shining light for them. But what are they doing at the minute? Because we're just seeing the same. If you've got players last season who are useless, why are you playing those same players again? This is meant to be a revolution for Man United. I love it, by the way, but it's just same old, isn't it?
It definitely made the post tea time results much, much, much better, didn't it? One thing I will say is I found it very weird that they tried to force like Bruno and Eriksen in that team. It didn't make no sense to me. Like you said, they're supposed to like upgrade or change stuff, and it just makes no sense. But I don't get how Max Source still plays with every manager. I just don't get it. I just don't get how no one's changed that or tried anything. Like,
do you rate Fred? Do you rate Fred? Do you think he's Max?
Oh no! They're all trash. They're not all top Premier League. They're not all top Premier League like players. They could play for like lower teams, but come on, man. Let's be honest. There's so much better players than Max Source, so much better players than Fred, but they seem to want to stick to that type of like rhythm and routine. It's crazy.
It's true, managers. Like 4 managers, a good top man. Maybe I don't want to say top managers, but you look at Mourinho, and Mourinho highlighted it straight away. Van Gaal was saying it. These are top managers, and you're not listening to them. what's Ten Hag going to do? Yes, Ten Hag is the kind of manager that's he's brought teams from the depths up to the heights with every club that he's been at, but it's a different kettle of fish at United. If you've not got the support you need from up top, it's not going to happen, and that's where United fall down. But we talk about McSauce and Fred Flintstone. I've seen the game, says Latif, and I was impressed with Moses Caicedo. He bossed that midfield. Looks like a huge talent. Leo, it's embarrassing, isn't it, that we're talking about a Brighton midfielder outplaying 4 of United's best midfielders. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
At Old Trafford.
At Old Trafford. On the first game of the season, when everybody's expecting this revolution. Wow.
Yeah, no, you love to see it, and it's crazy because it's been so many years, and anyone who watches them will say they've needed a center defensive mid. And it kind of reminds me of the old Liverpool, where we needed that defensive mid to replace Mascherano for so many years. And it was so obvious that was like a central piece of the puzzle that needed to be fixed. And yet it never came until Fabinho. And look what happened since. And for them, it's like, how do you sign an Eriksen when you have a Bruno? You know, when you have someone that does exactly what he does, and you need that defensive mid, like it's crazy to me, but you love to see it. And they only have one target. His name is De Jong, and he does not want to go there. So it's just like, I can't imagine what it's. I mean, I know actually, I have friends who are United fans, and they're just so depressed because they saw this coming, and you know, the real ones, they saw the preseason, they were like, this means nothing. They knew this was coming, and you know, like you said, if there isn't a change at the top, like we saw Liverpool for so many years, if there isn't that change in recruitment, you can never, you can't win. The recruitment has to be right.
It's crazy because I feel like somebody's saying something at Man United, Leo. I feel like there's someone saying, right, you've got to play Harry Maguire. You've got to play Luke Shaw. It's like Dallo stunk the place out. You've got to play McTominay because he knows what the club's about. If you're Ten Hag, and I can't see Ten Hag, I think he's done this tactically so he can turn around and go, look, that team doesn't work. So now I'm going to play my team, which might consist of Van den Beek, which might consist of Varane partnering Martinez, Malacia. But the rumours are they are linked with Marco Arnautovic, 33. Like, even in his prime, he's not United quality. 33 years of age. It's ridiculous. Like, what are Man United actually playing at? Who's in charge of all this? Like, it's madness.
No, it's that. Those are the moments when I feel a little down as a Liverpool fan, which I think some of us felt this weekend. That's when we're like, wow, you know, we are lucky because we do recruit so well, and even if it's so difficult to compete with the city, like at least our recruitment is spot on, and that's step one for any team, no matter how good the manager is. Like, the reality is, even though Klopp's net spend has been so low, the reason is we've been so successful is because we recruited right, you know, and you can't, that's not something that a manager can necessarily control if it's out of his hands, you know, like if your team isn't good enough, it's just not good enough, you know, and
I agree.
And United, that's clearly what's happening. You know?
I want to come to all three of you just for this one question, because I asked this question this weekend. I can't remember who I asked it to, but I'll ask you this question. We'll start with if we didn't have Klopp, would we even have got any trophies? That's one question. And the second one is, if we had Pep Guardiola over Klopp, would he have done a better or worse job in your opinion?
If we had Klopp, would we have won trophies? No. Because we've tried the whole, like, I don't know what other manager we would have got in. And if you think about Klopp's personality, like, our fans, like, you know, I always say this, we're very emotional. We need an emotional manager. We need somebody to, you know, rile us up and whatnot, and do it in the right way. So no. Pep, I can't see Pep doing anything without money. And we're at a time, like, Klopp came in, we needed a real new identity and things to change. And Klopp did it with the players we had. I couldn't see Pep coming in and not trying to make signings, and I couldn't see Pep making it past the conversations of how much is the budget and stuff like that. So for me personally, I don't think Pep would ever go to a Liverpool, because he's always gone and spent money, and we were never going to give him that money, especially back then. So
This is why I'm worrying so much for when Klopp leaves, but I'll tell you why in the next section because we'll touch on that. But Abs, Klopp, not here, no trophies. Pep Guardiola, would we be higher? What do you think?
I think if we didn't have Klopp and like who we had wasn't Pep, like I don't think we'd have won anything by now. We'd all
Yeah.
still be having the same conversations, honestly, like from years ago. We wouldn't have anything without Klopp. And like I was saying, like Klopp's so charismatic. Like he's literally everything the club needs, and he sort of made like it sounds so cringy, but he did make us all believe again. Do you know what I mean? And like he instilled that faith into me that we'll win more again. You know, this season and the season after for however long he wants to stay. But I feel like we might have won something with Pep. Like we would have got like an FA Cup or something. But I can't like what I was saying with like the budget and stuff. I couldn't see him agreeing to even like sign up to the like regime that we have at the minute. You know what I mean? Like he wouldn't sign up to this sort of net spend. Like he needs money to do what he does. Do you know what I mean? So. But he wouldn't get any of the big ones for us, I don't think. But Klopp would at City. I think Klopp would be. I'll say I think Klopp would have got a Champions League at City by now when Pep hasn't. Like I think he'd have a Champions League by now with that team.
Yeah. I think Klopp likes to prove everybody wrong. He likes to overachieve with the teams he's got. I do think he likes that kind of narrative. There'd be a lot more pressure on Klopp if he was at a Manchester City, which might not play into his hands. But Leo, is everything we've done basically down to Klopp? This is the point that I'm trying to prove.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And I think the part that we don't talk about enough as well is his ability to, like I've said, like it's kind of cheesy, but to make the fans believe and then make Anfield special again, which he understood that it's a power that you can unlock, which lots of other fan bases don't have. And I'm sure that when he went to Dortmund, he realized that he unlocked that. When he went to Liverpool, I'm sure because he saw that potential.
Yeah.
He knows that special things can be created when you have all these fans who are there and are the 12th man. That's like the saying. But I don't think Pep would have done what Klopp has done. The problem is that he's at City, and I watched City yesterday, and it's just like, whoa, like the way they could just control the game, the way they can just play with two center backs like this, and it looks like Joao Cancelo and Walker in midfield. I think, you said that, and it's just like they're scary now with Erling Haaland because those Champions League matches where they were that close. I don't see how Haaland is in that guy. I just don't see it.
It is crazy because the depth they've got on the bench. It's not the size of the squad, it's the quality that they've got to come on from the bench, which is what we don't have. But that moves us on to lost property for this week. And our lost property for this week can only be, oh my goodness, all the injuries at Liverpool at the minute. Now, I'm going to pull that one back up in a minute, but before I pull the picture back up of how many people and who is injured, I want to put this comment on because it's a great comment. It's like this club hates making signings. I really believe that Klopp hates the transfer market. This is MD. That's why FSG brought him in and love him so much. He saves them and makes them a lot of money. Now, I don't believe he hates the transfer market. I don't believe he hates making signings. But like I've just alluded to, Klopp likes this narrative of achieving more with less. Do you think if we go spending so much money, that goes against Klopp and puts more pressure on him to get a Premier League this season, to get a Champions League this season?
Of course, I agree with you. I think he loves the narrative. He's done it everywhere. He's gone to teams. He starts with their players. You don't just bring in a big wholesale of players. He's a very good manager. He can get the best out of players. Like he said, like Leo said, he'll get the best out. Like he'll make us believe again, but he also can do it to the players. And that's when you got like Joe Allens and Lalonde who were performing at a very high level. So for me, I won't say he hates the transfer window, but I do think he's very much annoyed because he knows he's getting all them questions and he has to answer like that's what he hates. He must hate that but he wouldn't have signed a new deal. He would have signed a new deal knowing that nothing's going to change in respect to like the transfer window and bringing in these type of players. But yeah, if he signed top players, like even when he signed Darwin, he was compared to Haaland, who I think it's crazy when you think about what they've done in their careers and where they are in their careers. I think they're not in the same like conversation right now, which is crazy. But they're being compared due to our rivalry. If we signed, and you see how the other fans were saying, "Oh, Liverpool can't say he ain't spent no money," blah 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 blah. But if you were to go out and spend a stupid amount of money, you have to be competing with Pep at a higher level and winning it. You couldn't just say competing; you'd have to be winning it and Champions League and stuff like that. So he gets to like almost hide in that conversation because we don't spend, or we use it as an excuse as well. To be fair, we always say, "Oh, our next spend." But
Yeah. This is what we need to change now. Abs, we look at this list of players: Thiago, Keita, Jota, Ox, Jones, Kanate. There's Ramsey as well, Kelleher. All these injuries already at this point in the season. Klopp told us in his conference, look, if there's injuries, then we're going to have to go out into the transfer market. He was happy with the squad we've got, but now with these injuries, we surely need somebody. And the fact is, he came out this week and he said it needs to make sense in the long term rather than the short term. Do you believe in that? Because the short term surely is the most important aspect now, because if we lose the next 3 games, or if we draw the next 3 games, City are probably gone already at this point in the season, as crazy as it sounds.
I mean, I wouldn't get ahead of myself, but the only thing is, like, if FSG only give Klopp a certain amount of money and it's a small amount that they give him, like they don't give him loads to play with, like City, he's not going to use that money up on like short fixes. That's the thing. Like, I know I feel like I'm saying the same thing every week, but like if there's someone that Klopp wants, he's probably rather save that money rather than FSG telling them, what do you mean? We've just give you, like, I don't know, this loany. And then, do you know what I mean? I feel like Klopp likes to try and preserve as much as he can before he starts like spending money on things. Like you look at like Kabak and all that, it was sort of just a waste. But I don't know. I think if we're gonna sign someone, we'll be looking at the list on the board of who we were looking at for like January or next season. Like I'm not even gonna say Bellingham again, but because we're definitely not getting him. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I feel like Klopp's not the type to like panic. Because I don't know. I think we will sign someone. Like, I do think we'll sign someone. And if it's someone on loan or something, I'm going to be a bit disappointed. As someone who's just going to, I don't know, not like another, like, what was it, Ben Davies or something who just sat there and didn't kick the ball once. Like, I don't want something like that. But with Thiago being injured, like, Thiago starts for me most games. So it's a bit like we need someone
the key.
now.
I think Thiago was the key to this season, keeping him fit, playing him in the right games. And we've said this, play him in the right games. I'm not sure if Fulham potentially was the right game, but you look back and the injuries happen, so it's kind of hindsight, isn't it? Maybe you'd go with your strongest team first game of the season, but that performance for me was just way below par. Leo, I go to you, and Abs is talking about she wants to see, like Klopp said, these players that are going to stay in and perform in the future, long-term targets rather than short-term fixes. But we look at what Brentford did last season, bringing Eriksen in. Look at what West Ham did when they brought Lingard in. These players help their teams to achieve more than they've achieved before. Yeah. This surely, leading up to January, while our players get fit, would be a good option, being the beginning of the season. Barcelona are looking to offload a lot of their players and wage bill. Could we potentially go into there, get a player of quality, of class, to just come in on a short-term basis?
Yeah, no, I mean that I'm sure they're looking at that. It's just again about finding the right player, because there's no point in a Ben Davies again or a Kabak. I mean, Kabak did actually perform for us for a bit, but what I wonder actually is if we hadn't sold Sadio Mane, do you guys think we would have signed Nunes? That's something I sometimes think about, and my personal opinion is no, and that's why I worry that we keep talking about a Jude Bellingham. But how likely is it Jude Bellingham unless Keita has a really good season and we offload him in the summer? Yeah. I just don't know where the money's going to be coming from, and
it's crazy saying we don't know where the money's coming from, because we have so much money. Like the success that we've had. Look at Mo Salah, his shirt sales alone, bringing Diaz in, the Colombian market as well, the South American market, we run that.
Yeah.
It's crazy to say we have no money because we have so much. We break even more or less every single season.
Yeah.
So it's crazy that we say that, isn't it, Leo?
Yeah, I mean it's completely crazy, but again, John Henry and FSG, they see this as a business, and for them, if we finish second, if you look at the revenue last season, if you look at everything on a business point of view, like you said, shirt sales, all of it, they're super happy. They don't if they finish second, do you think they really care? Like they're not Liverpool fans. They care at the end of the day how much they is being made, and if Liverpool fans are happy, and the reality is we are happy. I mean we almost won a quadruple. So
Yeah.
they'll look at it and they'll be like, why invest more? Why not just keep the same structure that we've been doing, which is breaking even, like you said, pretty much, if it's been successful, and if we finish second to City, so be it. Like our revenue is still really impressive. There's no
Yeah.
need to spend 100 million on some guy who might or might not win us the league when we're happy to be second.
I think that is the problem as well, isn't it? Oh, we're being happy to be second. This is the point where we should be like, it's first or nothing. Like, I appreciate Liverpool, what they've done, how far we've come. We know the dark days, and it's not that we're ungrateful. We just want success at this time when we've got our best manager. And this comment alone from Latif saying, Fabrizio Romano, I don't know who Romano is, some kind of new Samoan reporter, I don't know. Fabrizio Romano has just reported that Liverpool and Klopp have a short list of midfield players, but apparently none of them are available this summer. Is this the stubbornness we're talking about? Oh, like,
Yeah. It's
come
like,
on.
when you're, I feel like football's obviously turned into a business. I can understand that because nobody invests their money without profit being made or stuff like that. However, now it's getting to the point where what the fans want and the owners want it's shifting this way a little bit. So when it comes to that point, like, I don't think FSG is going to be here that as like for. Like, they'll be here for a few more years. I don't think they'll be here forever. So I feel like they'll be bought out soon or sell because the lining right now is just we're far away from each other. I always go with separating what we want. To say everything that Leo said is true, second place, whatnot for a business, it's fine for them. But the fans don't want it no more. We want everything. We're gonna want that, and we can do that if you just invest in. We're not saying go out and spend 100 million on a or Project Mbappe or whatever. We're just saying invest. We know there's a problem. Klopp knows there's a problem. Everybody knows we needed midfielders before the injuries. We needed a midfielder. You know what I mean? It's like if we always react so late, like we never really replaced Ronaldo until later. We never really replaced we went in the market last minute.com and then got Ben Davis and came back. Ben Davis never played. We're still playing Nat Phillips. No disrespect, as good as Nat Phillips is, he's not like a top centre back. He should like that. You're never gonna have him starting. Like we have to have these real conversations. He's not a top centre back. Like he was gonna go Burnley. Like we wouldn't buy a centre back from Burnley. Like, do you know what I mean? So for me, they decide Konate later on. It's just a bit like last minute, and then that Diaz deal only came through early because of the Tottenham. So it's like we do have the right players, but it's just like how we do stuff is just very irritating. It's very slow, very if this happens, if that happens, you say there are other midfielders available. You got people fighting over De Jong, people fighting over these type of players. These players can't tell me these players can't come into our team and make our team better, or like you can't tell me that. We're still paying Ox. Ox has been. How many games did he play last season? You think about last season as well. I think we were lucky to go that far with the players we had. When we were resting players and playing Minamino and Jota and that, we were like 1-0 down in the first like 10 minutes and then had to fight. I mean, we don't have quality. Something that you guys said about Man City, they might not have a big squad numbers anymore, but they're doing like for like changes. Mahrez didn't even start yesterday, and he's their best winger. They got rid of Sterling, and I thought they would struggle, but that's the difference. Like we don't have quality. We go to like very low levels, and there's a big gap in between the type of levels we have. And we've now got rid of Origi, who's saved us many times. Minamino saved us in the cup.
They've not been replaced. They've not been replaced. Like,
got rid of players.
They were important, crucial players last season.
Yeah.
Divock Origi, Minamino, we would have no trophies if it wasn't for Minamino last season.
When we want to rotate, like who starts? It must be Bobby and these players and Fabio and whatnot. These players are just signed in, so there's going to be a transitional period. At one point, Klopp weren't playing players for like months, and then we still don't have nobody to play CDM. Like
We've
if
still not replaced Wijnaldum.
Exactly. So this is my point. So, and it's crazy because we got rid of Mane, and to me, he's such a game changer. Like on his own, he can make something happen. We don't have that, like other than our starting 11 or other, like we don't have players like that. So getting rid of someone like Mane to me is crazy. And I feel like again, we got rid of him to pay to get, and we got Nunes in, and we gave Salah money. It's like we moved like we're on a tight budget and we've got money.
As much as we love Diaz, imagine a Sadio, Darwin, Salah front three. That's different
And
level
Diaz come off
because
the bench.
and Diaz come off the bench because Diaz. I feel like Diaz still needs to develop his game. He needs to add those goals, add those assists. He's very raw at the minute, and we love that as Liverpool fans. But he does need to start adding more goals, more assists.
Always an all like this player or that player for us when we have the money to buy. How can we get rid of? Like, I feel like we got rid of money to give Salah some more money, and we brought down Unity because we could give him less money. It's just crazy to think this is
No, the other question.
Go on, Leo.
No, I just wanted a quick question for Abs then, if you're up. Is also, do you think Mo would have gone the new contract if Sadio hadn't left? Because they were both asking for around the same amount of money. That's another question.
No, like it was one or the other, wasn't it? At the end of the day, it really was one or the other. FSG just aren't like that with their money. They just wouldn't do it. If it was City, they probably would have kept both of them and give them more. Do you know what I mean? But no, sadly, as much as I love Sadio, like we didn't get a lot for him either when you think about it. And he was in his last season, but this is actually a question that I wanted to ask. If we would have got 100 million for him, if we'd have sold him not this summer but the summer before, would you have done it, or would you have kept him for the season that we've just had him for? You know, and keep the money. Do you know what I mean? Keep the 60 million.
If it's a case of Sadio Mane, I think I would have kept him at all costs because that's how important Sadio Mane was to us. We know there was no replacement for Mane, but to see him go on a free would have killed. That's why I think we've already been like, do you know what? If he wants to go, his heart's not in it, let him go this summer because we owe that to Sadio for how good he's been. We're just seeing now, after that game, we're seeing how important Sadio Mane actually was because we were just lacking that cutting edge, that kind of, it's the transition between defense and attack. Mo Salah does it quite well, but Sadio used to work so hard to cover for Robbo, to support Thiago, and then be electric on the counter-attack, whereas Diaz is pressing a lot, but he's not doing that defensive kind of turnover job. But I think Diaz will get there. I love Diaz. I do like Diaz. I think
he will get there. He will get there eventually.
The final now is because we look at this. Fire the Scouts, says KZ for days, because this is shocking. Why did we allow everyone to get injured before we act? We're not even acting. KZ for days, we're not even acting now when everybody's injured. But Abs, it's not a case of acting when everyone's injured. We look at the starting lineup we had. Aside from Nunes, probably the best team we can play this season. And we struggled so much against Fulham, which to me shows that even then we need more quality from the bench because it wasn't happening. But you couldn't see anyone from the bench aside from Nunes coming on and making that happen, could you?
No, I mean, I wouldn't be blaming the scouts or anything because when we like signed Thiago, Fabinho and all that,
our scouts must be really good because we always hit the mark. Every signing we get always hits the mark.
World class.
Yeah.
It's not like we allow everyone to get injured. Like these injuries are so unfortunate. Do you know what I mean? It's not like Klopp goes. He can't predict these things. Do you know what I mean? That these players are going to get injured, but even looking at who we've got rid of, like when you were listening then, like Mane, Minamino, Origi and all that, we really haven't replaced them at all. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I spend too long looking at like a starting 11, but when you think about the cup games this season, like we're going to have to play the kids. We really are going to have to play the kids unless we sign someone that I mean, I think we will sign someone before the transfer window closes. You know, I feel like it's going to be like that Fabinho style, where like no one hears any rumblings of anything, and then it'll appear out of anywhere. But then I sort of feel like that's just my brain hoping. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I'll just get because I've got the notifications turned on. I'm just waiting for like Jude Bellingham signs long-term contract, but it's not going to happen.
Do you think that will keep a lot of people quiet, or do you think if we actually sign Bellingham, the noise is going to become louder because we're going to want to win every game? So there's going to be that kind of need from the fans, then, isn't there?
I think if we sign him and then we don't win at least one of the big ones, then there'll be next summer. Everyone's going to start like kicking up a fuss, but you can't put it all on like one midfielder's shoulders. Do you know what I mean? You can't go, oh, we'll sign a midfielder and then everything will be fine. Do you know what I mean? You can't really do that either. But I wouldn't put it all on him. But I do think we're going to sign someone. Like there was a point this summer when I literally thought all these players were leaving, and I was convinced Salah was going on a free. I'm still buzzing that he actually signed. But then I feel like I probably just accept like the bare minimum, really. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like I try and be positive all the time, like even on Club, with like giving everyone 10s out of 10. I feel like I try to stay positive, but when I start to like think about like Origi and Minamino and that, I start to think like, oh,
yeah, that's
do you know what I mean?
it.
You can only defend for so long until
Do you know
start
what the
to get
hard
like
thing is?
yourself.
Because we're so loyal, Abs, and because we love the club so much, we don't want to criticise because we're in the best period we've ever been in. So we don't want to criticise, but at the same time, we're open to criticism because we're not just pushing to get over the line. Look at what Man City are doing. That's who we're comparing ourselves to. And Man City would have turned that Fulham side inside out if they played that game. And we didn't. And that's the difference. But I'm just going to put us up here. We're going to just have some quick fire ones with the fans' comments, and then we'll move on to the last one. Anyone can jump in and reply to these, so feel free to just jump in, say what you've got to say. But here we go. We don't need reinforcements. Look how amazing our bench was. Gomez, Milner, Adrian, Elliott, Nunes, Carvalho, Bacitic, Shep, and Chambers. Wow. When you look at that compared to what Man City's bench was. Jeez. Oh, what are you thinking about this?
You know what's crazy? I'm gonna say this. Milner came on and actually improved the game. We improved the
Milner was good.
That's crazy. And I'm the person to say, come on, man. Like, but I mean, we could have said that. Like, you talk about like Klopp at the start was like, oh, we have these, you know, in the midfield, we got Chamber, we got Tyler, we got all these players, and then sent like 2 of them got injured, 2 of them got sent on loan, and I'm like, okay, so what now? That's 4 players that you mentioned in the midfield. Then you think about Sepp, who you know is going, half of them players are going. Nunes was a game changer, but no one off that bench. Elliott played okay, Carvalho played okay, but it's like we're forcing these type of players like into the team. I feel like you have to give them some time, but now we're at the point where they have to play.
Yeah. Leo, this one, we should have kept Mane over Bobby. Bobby's been shocking for 2 to 3 years now. Why did we keep him? Come on, man. We have to evolve as a club. This cannot become a retirement home. Right. This is very disrespectful. This is disrespectful on Bobby, right? Bobby is... last season, Bobby potentially played the best football he's played at Liverpool, but the injury kind of knocked him out. Diaz come in, left him out of contention. But what I do want to say, Leo, is if Bobby does stay for so long and doesn't turn these performances out, I don't want it to become a case of forgetting how good Bobby was. Do you know what I mean? I feel like fans now would accept Bobby going because he doesn't do what he used to do. Whereas I still love Bobby. I want everybody to send Bobby out on a high. I don't want him to become this player where everybody's like, oh no, why is Bobby on again?
Yeah. But I still think he has so much to give. I don't think he's done, seriously. And I think the Fulham performance so much goes back to our midfield, where we just failed to have any control over the game. And that's why I'm so shocked. It's like you look at the quality of Fulham and it's like, how did we let them take over? How did we let them take over? How did we let Mitrovic look like a world-class player who dominates the Premier League when we have like Mo Salah who didn't do anything in the first half? Like
Especially when we dominated Haaland like a week before, and then
I don't
Yeah.
understand. But that's what I mean. Like I don't think any of it's on Bobby, and he still has it. We saw it the week. Like he's still has so much to give, and I'm just worried about our midfield. That's what I think we should be discussing.
Can I add one thing on that Bobby?
Yeah, go.
comment? I'm gonna say this because I've said this before and I've said it off chat. Bobby is very good. I love Bobby, but nobody can tell me if you could have kept or if you could have out of all the three, he would have to be the first to go. If it could have meant keeping Mane,
Bobby has to go. But the problem is Bobby's very likely to sign a new contract that's like much lower than a Saudio.
No.
He'll probably sign for 150.
I'm speaking in a hypothetical world. If he gets out of the three, like I want Bobby to stay. I think the same. I think last season and this pre-season, like the end of last season, came up from his injury. He was one of our best players. And I feel like he's somebody who you know what I mean? It's just like he's a little bit slower to get going now as he gets older and whatnot, but he's still definitely one of the best link-up players. I feel like the reason why he was so highlighted and targeted in that game is because Nunes plays it like when Nunes came on, it was a different type, but he was running in behind. He was doing the opposite of what Bobby was doing, and it worked because he was desperate for the goal. But I feel like if Nunes and Bobby had to start that game for me, I think he was one of our best players over pre-season. I'm surprised he didn't play that well, but I would not saying get rid of him, but
I want him to start.
It was a case of you can only keep one of the formidable front three. I'm keeping Mane and Salah. Like that's times that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I just want to address this. KZ for days, come on. Take the red tinted glasses off. Look at the name of the show. LFC fans need answers. We're asking for answers. We're being real about it. We're not just saying, oh no, let's trust Klopp, let's back Klopp. We're not saying that. Like, we need reinforcements. But at the same time, let's respect the players that we have got that can make a contribution. If you were talking about Oxlade-Chamberlain now or Naby Keita, I'd probably say, do you know what? It's time for them. They need to go because it's past the sell-by date. But Bobby Firmino still got... Plus, if you got rid of Bobby now and didn't bring anyone in, who are you even rotating? Like, Jota's injured. There's no other attackers within our squad. Bobby's still at the top level. Bobby would make aside from Man City, I feel like maybe Tottenham as well, Bobby would make the starting 11 of any other team in the Premier League. But let's get on to the last part of the show. We want to finish on a positive, so let me remove that KZ for days, how dare you. Let me go to the trophy cabinet, the baller of the week, and I'm sorry, we just had to go to the magic man, Mohamed Salah. Now, 6 in 6 for Mo, the 6-season wonder, 6 goals, 6 opening days. Unbelievable from Mo Leo. He's going to play the most important part for us this season, isn't he?
Yeah. And then I think what was so interesting from Fulham and the biggest positive was when Darwin came on, it's like he turned on. I don't know why that is, because you'd think that because of Bobby's interplay that he would let Mo do his best work. But for some reason, when Darwin came on, maybe because he created so much danger, made those runs like O said, that it left more space for Mo. Maybe that's what it was. But it's for some reason it just clicked and Mo looked himself in the second half. While in the first half you didn't see any of it. You know what I mean? So that for me was the most positive thing. It's like not only did he get a goal and an assist, but he turned him on. And we know when Mo's turned on, we win football games. You know, he's that good. So
yeah, that was one positive, wasn't it? Mo Salah in that game. Even in pre-season, Mo's looked so sharp in everything. Do you think it's because that contract talk is out of his mind? He can enjoy football. He knows he's the main man now. Sadio's gone. Are we going to see like a record-breaking season for Mo? Do you think?
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? I feel like everyone's comparing Haaland to Nunes, and I feel like most Salah's like, okay, so you ain't talking about me no more. You know what I mean? I'm ready. Like Mo looked like when he had the ball, it worked much like Leo said in the start of the game, but he was taking on players, turning players inside and out, and he looked hungry. Obviously, when I love what I think we said in pre-season, what Nunes has brought like a different vibe and given and created because he takes the ball and he just like wants to link up. He is going to have so much fun with Salah, and even Trent, all three, or that right-sided just looks like a breath of fresh air again. Like I can't wait. I can't wait to see it on the regular.
I can't wait to see it. And I am excited. Like, this weekend, Abs, I've been a little bit like, I don't know about this season. Like, I'm confused about how it's going to go. We've got Mr. Positive here again, KZ for days. KZ for days, by the way. We love having you in this. Like, it's great. Keep it coming because this is what we want. We want these contrasted opinions. We love to read out what everyone's thinking. This could be, Abs, what the fan base is thinking this season. I know you're positive. You're staying positive. But a lot of people could be thinking, after watching that Man City game and that Fulham game, like, we could be fucked. Do you know what I mean? Like, we could be.
I just don't look at it like that. I don't know it. I don't know. I didn't look at that game as like the worst case scenario, like, because I really thought we could have lost it. Like, I'm not saying maybe we did deserve to lose it. You know, when I think about it, that first half was just absolutely awful. Honestly, maybe we did deserve to lose it, but I just think that was sort of like the kick we needed to carry on. Do you know what I mean? Because the draws killed us last season. It was when you look back at some of the draws that we had, I just feel like maybe that was sort of like a wake-up call to like Klopp and the players to say like, no, we're not doing this again. Do you know what I mean? No more draws. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like we do need like a kick really to carry on. And that's the way I'm looking at it. And like my positive mind is that like, oh, we've come across like our speed bump really early. Klopp's going, right, this was why this happened. I'm starting Nunes next game. You know, like Henderson didn't play well, right? But we don't really have that many midfield options, so I can say that now. Yeah. But we don't have that many options to not play him. But it's so, for me, it's just like I'm just going with the flow at the minute, and I still think that we're going to make a signing before the transfer window closes. So yeah. I feel like it was miserable. But it wasn't as bad as it could have been. Like if we're still on to be invincible. Like we're still on to not lose a game. So you never know. If we'd have lost, that'd have been like, oh.
We talk about maybe Hendo not having a great game. Fabinho for me looked so below par, and that's where I'm more worried. Hendo, it's fine because we can bring Elliot on and see what Elliot can do. We could potentially give a game to Carvalho and kind of swap around how we set up. I feel like there's cover for Hendo, but for Fabinho, we're relying on Fabinho to kind of hit the ground running and be this consistent player every week, aren't we, all with this? Like, the only player to come in is Bajcetic, which I believe he looks ready to me, so I don't mind Bajcetic getting a chance, but if you're going to just play him on the bench and keep him on the bench, that's not going to do his progression any good. We need to see him if you think he's ready, Jurgen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things, and I don't know, I was thinking about this when Abs was talking a minute ago. I was thinking, you know, I feel like the Community Shield was one of the, like, the players went this, oh, actually, we just dominated at City. We're playing Fulham. Yeah, okay, they were the champ. They finished high. Okay, like, no, all right, it's not that deep. And I felt like we were so passive because we thought they would come and respect us, but they didn't. They came over and just tried to give us a thumping every time. Like, and I feel like even I went into the Man City game after the Man City game going 4-0. This should be easy. Like, we just like Man City played a strong side, and you know what I mean. So I feel like, as a player, I know if you play football, you remember like you go into some games going, that team is bottom of the league or whatever, or they're not on our level, so we don't have to play as hard, and then you're like 1-0 down, or they're dominating because you're going up for challenges half-heartedly. So I feel like I've said, it's just this is our speed bump. It's like, okay, let's build up, because if you remember 2 seasons ago, they beat us.
They sure did. Like, I'm sat here and I'm in two minds right now, because I'm in the mindset where it's like, we need to do something seriously quick, because we've got a worse team than we had last season. Man City looks stronger than they looked last season. I am a bit worried sat here, and I'm worried because I want us to do so well. I don't want us to do what Arsenal did. And when you look at things now, FSG being a bit stingy with the purse strings, Klopp being a bit stubborn to the system, this is where Arsenal started to digress and go down the route they went to. But Abs, look at this comment, and I appreciate this one from Realism Jared. You can see Pep's changed the way that they play. Everything catered for Haaland in that game. Klopp, on the same false nine, Bobby Prime tactics. it's madness. When you think about that, should Nunes have started? Do you think that was a downfall from Klopp? Was playing the same 4-3-3? Should we be playing a 4-2-3-1 now? Is this the season where we need to kind of change something a little bit?
It's definitely the season that we need to change something, but it's just getting used to it, isn't it? Like this time last week, I think I said on the show that, oh no, we need to give Nunes a little bit of time. Like he'll be on the bench for the first few games, and then Klopp will start to like bring him in a bit more. And then like the first thing I thought after that Fulham game was we should have started Nunes. And like I feel like it's going to take like a bedding in period, but it's also probably Klopp not wanting to put him in the deep end, you know, with everything that's going on social media, because you can sort of tell that it does get to him, you know, like his reaction on Twitter and like, you know, like just his like celebrations when he scores and stuff, you can sort of tell that it's like silencing the haters, but it sort of like shows that he's listening to it, do you know what I mean? Like sort of like the Haaland Nunes thing, like the price tag and everything. So I don't blame Klopp for not starting him. Like I don't think that was like a massive mistake. And like I have quite a lot of faith in Firmino, to be honest, but I do know what you mean about him getting towards the end of his sell-by date. And like if I had to keep one, like I was saying before, I'd have kept Mane, but Firmino's asking for a lot less money. Do you know what I mean? Like Sadio was asking for the same things as Salah, but to like go back to the point, I think Nunes will start every game from now on. In my opinion, I think he starts all of them, and he's just going to have to go into the deep end if we want to try and like get used to this sort of like change as quick as possible if we want to win the title. Because I mean, I guess if we were like going for top 4, I'd be like, oh yeah, there will be like a bedding in period where we're like, I don't know, changing formation and stuff, but we just don't have the time for it. When you're going for titles, you don't have the time to be changing things up drastically and having to get used to things. Do you know what I mean? So I think we're just going to have to throw Nunes in at the deep end and just hope it works out for the best.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to pull some comments up. I agree with what you're saying. Nunes, if you're paying 85 million, I'm sorry, but you're starting every week. Like, there's no reason why you should sign this level of player like Haaland and expect them to need to adjust. You're paying that money because they should be able to come in and hit the ground running. If they have pre-season, they should be able to adapt to the system and then play. We've seen it with Nunes. I'm not saying Nunes can't. He can. So that's why I'm a bit cautious as to, like, why is he not started against Fulham? In that game, we score early with Nunes on that pitch, and it's game over from early because Fulham would have to come out. We would benefit from that, and it would be game over. It would have been 4-5, but because Bobby started, there was no threat and no pressure on the back two centre-backs of Fulham, and that's why Fulham had a field. Fulham looked so good, by the way. So props to Fulham because they looked so good in that first half. So
you wonder what Klopp's seen in like training now at the same time. Like if Klopp's seen like Bobby have like an amazing like training session and he's gone, oh yeah, like do you know what I mean? Like we don't see like the training and stuff like that. Like I'm sure Klopp had like a rational reason behind it. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm sure he did. But I think from now on he'll learn his lesson. I think he's learned his lesson now.
I think Bobby had a great pre-season though. I think
Bobby did have a good pre-season.
I think him and Salah was probably the two shining ones for me.
I'd say Elliott and Carvalho as well, definitely, aside from them. Bajcetic as well had a great pre-season. I've got to give a shout-out to Bajcetic. But here we go with this one. Oh, did you see how shocked Klopp looked? Like he couldn't believe how bad the players were. I've never seen, and I don't know if it was shocked because of how bad the players were, but I've never seen Klopp look the way he did in a point in that game. Usually you'll see Klopp shouting at players. Usually you'll just see him relax, like calm, thinking we're going to come back. It looked to me like he was looking at what was going on that field and thinking, that's not Liverpool. He even came out after the game and said the only positive he can take from the game is 1 point. He never says things like that, does he? Like Klopp always comes out and says, oh, this is football, these things can happen. He openly came out and said that we weren't good enough in that game. Is that a good thing, or is that something that is a bit worrying for you?
I think I don't think it's worrying because we are fighters and Klopp will embed that spirit back into him. I think the players, again, I think it's like they shouldn't do this. They're professionals. But I feel like rolling, coming out of winning that trophy and then going to play Fulham, you're thinking, because I can't lie to you, we weren't winning first balls, we weren't winning seconds, we weren't scrapping, we didn't match them at all. And you'd think we was playing like a West Ham or something, innit? And no disrespect, it's not like we weren't playing at that type of level of team. Fulham played well, but I feel like it's because we didn't come out of like second gear or first gear out first half. I think as the second half came, Nunes came on, it carried them a problem because Nunes wins probably every single ball that comes to him, and he also likes to run in behind. So it's like for a centre back, that's one of the hardest people to play against. Then that frees up. If you remember the goal that Nunes scored, it came from him winning the ball, giving it to Trent or whatever it was, and the left back ran to Trent, and then that freed up Salah. But that wasn't happening before the game. It's because Nunes was that much of a figure, and I feel like he's kind of like a complete forward in the sense of he runs behind you, he win a header, he'll come deep. Bobby was coming deep all the time, find himself in midfield. Defenders didn't have to do much, and that's the difference. And they were just physically up there, and we was nowhere near their like level of physicality.
It's so true. It's so true. Do you know what? I could run through this all day. We could talk about this all day. There's more shows to come today. So everyone that's tuned in, thank you all so much for tuning in, by the way. We've had so many. I think this has been the most we've had for Weekly Drip at this time on a Monday. So many people in the comments getting involved. So we really appreciate that. Keep going. Keep subscribing. Hit the like button. Share everything you can. But Abs, give us your verdict of this match week. What do you think we need to do now moving forward? And should we worry or should we just stay a little bit calm for now?
I don't know. I think we start Nunes and sign a midfield this week, like instantly. Like be looking now, basically. But no, I think we'll start. I think we'll win. We'll beat Crystal Palace. We're the Monday, aren't we? We're the Monday.
Yeah, Monday.
Huge
game, by the way. Crystal Palace are a good team.
I know. I am a bit worried about it, you know. If it was this time last season, I wouldn't have been worried about it. But I'm trying to stay positive. Like, that's the thing for me, is keep the positivity. But go look for a transfer, basically. That's what I say.
Agree. Oh, verdict!
Yeah, Palace, we are comeback kings. We know how to, dig in deep. So I can see us bouncing back with a great win against Palace. Nunes to start, he has to now. He's got the goal. He will be dying to get on and start a game and show, have him for 9 minutes or 60, whatever. So I'm
home as well.
Yeah.
Yes. You know what? It's the first game of the season. The performance was below par. Very bad performance, by the way. I've not seen Liverpool like that for a few seasons, but it's woken us up, I think. I think it'll wake a few players up. It will wake Klopp up in, this is what we need. I hope, anyway. If we don't sign a midfielder, then I'm going to come back in, how many days have we got left? 20-something days of the transfer window. So in 2-3 weeks' time, I might come back and have a different tone if we've not got a midfielder in. We've not backed the team. But for now, let's stay calm. Let's see if we react to this situation. Let's get behind the team. Let's hope we get a good performance against Crystal Palace, and let's just enjoy Man United losing their opening game to Brighton for this week. But you two, Leo as well, who had to jump off, you've both been a pleasure. This has been Weekly Drip. Catch us here every single week. If you want to follow Abs or Leo, myself, on socials, get down in the comments, in the caption for the video. You'll find all our links, so please follow, subscribe, like, everything you can. We've done it. It's the first show less than an hour long. You chatterboxes, we've made it to the promised land. I appreciate that. But until next time, as we always say, you'll never walk alone. Peace. See you later, guys.
Bye.